Okay, so this is probably going to be a pretty important video because it's about diversity in physics and how minorities can succeed in STEM education, basically. So, whether you're in physics, chemistry, math, engineering, something like that, I guarantee you'll probably have some sort of problem similar to any of these that I'm going to outline if you're a minority in physics. And even if you're not a minority student, um, or even if you are not from a minority background, you should still watch this video because it's actually very important for everyone to understand the problems and issues that people go through so we can build a more inclusive background, and so that some of the issues you might face too, you probably will face a lot of these, just not to the extent of what minority students have to go through to do this. Okay, so let's just jump into the video. So the number one thing that's gonna happen, probably no matter what, for all students in STEM disciplines, is you're gonna face imposter syndrome. Now, imposter syndrome is basically the feeling that you do not belong where you are. So, say if I'm in a classroom, I'm gonna feel like I don't belong in that classroom. It's too smart for me. The other students are way smarter than me. The professor doesn't acknowledge me at all. So, some things like that. That's basically imposter syndrome, or feeling like you're left out of group projects or in the library study rooms or anything like that. That's what it is. It's basically meaning that you feel like you do not belong in this community where you're either your major or a study group or a classroom or things like that. And this does happen to all people. Don't worry about that. So everyone can benefit from this topic, and this does happen to all people pretty much regardless of background. It's because a lot of these classes are just so hard, it feels like you're gonna feel that way. It's just to a different extent and from different issues that happen to minority students that it becomes more of a problem. And pretty much almost everything I'm going to talk about relates back to this issue of imposter syndrome. And there's a lot of great videos on covering imposter syndrome, so I'm not going to cover the full extent of it, but I'll tell you what it is, and then I'm going to give you a bunch of examples of how it relates to this. So the number one problem and issue I see that sets minority students back and makes it harder for them to succeed in STEM education is that the privileges that other students get that we never got. Things like, your parents being able to help you with your math homework and college applications and things like that. We never had like a lot of that. So being able to actually focus and ask questions and learn these things on our own was something we had to do from the very beginning, which actually makes you feel super left out if someone in your group project says, "Oh, my dad works at NASA and he's gonna help us do this," or "My uncle works here and he's gonna get me a job here," or an internship from this big company. That's all cool, and it makes us feel just completely left out because we don't have any of that to help us. There's a lot of financial burdens too. A lot of students in colleges, especially in STEM backgrounds, come from really rich families because their parents were able to hire them tutors, SAT tutors, get them all kinds of pre-college tests and everything done. Some of them even bought their way into college. So there's a lot of these issues that are coming across, whereas students from minority backgrounds can't afford textbooks, can't afford a good laptop, can't afford, supplies for school. So it just alienates and feels so bad when the person sitting next to you in the same class as you is able to afford the freaking Gucci shirt and the Gucci shoes, Balenciaga shoes, and the newest iPad, when I'm still just here, I'm borrowing a book from the library and not even being able to fully own the supplies that I need. So you can see how this relates to imposter syndrome, because you're obviously gonna feel like you're not from a good enough background and that you're not good enough to be able to afford to be able to take part in this education, which is completely wrong. You 100% do not need the latest technology or supplies or anything. Even books, you can just rent books from Amazon, the library, find them online for free. It's so easy to do all that, but it's definitely a lot harder. It's a bigger barrier to entry than what other students have, which is the main problem and main issue of why this imposter syndrome keeps on putting down minority students. Another example is that there aren't any public figures or example figures of people that you can look to that are of the same background as you that have also done these things. For example, most of your professors in these classes are going to be white or Asian males. So if you're not a white, Asian, or Asian male, you're not going to be represented most likely in your department with your counselors, advisors, professors, tutors, anything like that. So when everyone that is teaching you or trying to help you doesn't even look like you and doesn't even know some of the issues that you're going through and can't relate to them at all, then it's pretty hard to actually discover how to learn and how to become a better educated person. You're a lot less willing to go seek help from people that don't understand you or don't come from the same background as you, rather than being able to talk to someone who does know what you're going through and can relate to a lot of the things that you are going through. Another issue is it promotes like no diversity in the classrooms. The classrooms in STEM are probably 90% white or Asian males. So if you're not a white or Asian male, you're probably not going to have any more representation in your classrooms. So you stand out a lot more being in that classroom, being a person of color or a woman or any other minority. You stand out a lot more, and you set a representation for like that entire diverse group. So people will think, oh, this is a woman in my class, so if she represents all women in STEM. Or there's a Latino in my class, that guy represents all Latinos in STEM, basically, because there is no other representation for us. And this creates a problem where you don't want to be put in that spotlight like that. Say maybe you ask a strange question in class and everyone thinks it's annoying and dumb and you shouldn't have asked that question. Well, now you're going to be labeled as that annoying Latino student that asks a dumb question and it shouldn't be here. Or at least that's what you think in your head. Whereas if any other student asks that question, they're just, the student doing good participation, or they might be seen as annoying. They might even be seen as like beneficial for being productive in the classroom from the professor. Whereas if anyone from a minority background asks the question like that, it's completely different. It sets a spotlight on you and makes you the representation for the entire minority group, which you can see adds a lot of pressure and makes you not want to be participating in class lectures or anything, because if you give the wrong answer, you set the representation that, your diverse representation group is going to be giving the wrong answers most of the time. So it just makes it so much harder for participation from these minority groups with this like sort of spotlight effect on them. And these are all things just to be aware of. I don't really know all the solutions to all these. Maybe leave a comment down below. Tell me how you dealt with any of these. I just want you to be aware that these things are going to happen and be prepared for them. But you can power through it. You can keep going. You don't need to stop because you feel like you don't belong here, or you feel like you're not representing your minority group the right way. You can just keep going, please. It doesn't need to be perfect. We just need more representation from people. There's also so many other things, like I didn't know what internships were. Like I heard of them from movies and stuff, but I assumed that was what like business and econ majors do. But I didn't know that STEM majors had to go into internships too, just because no one told me that. Like I never got told to find an internship, to find a job, or to do any like lab research work or anything like that. I had to figure that all out on myself, which is what a lot of minority students have to do. They have to figure a lot of these things out by themselves, which makes it so much harder also for them to find secure jobs, finish their degree, go through all these like troubles and hoops to jump through, as well as maybe even the advisors don't even support you as much or as well as some of the other students. I know I had advisors that advised me to not even like try going into physics, because I think like 80% of the minority students switch majors after that, which is dumb. I completely finished my physics degree perfectly well, but things like that happen and it pushes people away. So just make sure that you can also help build this minority group, and I just want to make sure everyone knows that it is important to build up a diverse background in physics, because the more diverse the background we can have, the more ideas and ideologies that we can come from to solve problems in physics. And that's what really helps and drives the new physics forward. So some tips I would give is try to talk to advisors as much as you can and find one that actually like listens to and understands where you're coming from, not one that just gives very generic advice to all the same students. I would recommend talking to professors as well. Try to find a professor that you enjoy talking to and that can help you with achieving your goals, passing your classes, getting into research and internship opportunities, and look into making some groups like friend groups or other minority groups that'll help build more representation. I know in UCs they have like sort of representation groups for minority students in different departments, which is great. Try to join some of those and help build it up so that you can help build a community of students that are from diverse backgrounds. And none of this is going to be perfect. There's still going to be plenty of issues that all students are going to face, no matter what their background is from. But I'm telling you right now, the one thing you need to remember is to just get through it. You can definitely get through a lot of things. I've been so close to just like wanting to quit so much, but you can get through it, and then in the long run, you're gonna look back and think, oh, that wasn't too bad. I think back all the time and think, wow, do you know what? I had a lot of enjoyment actually going through these hard problems and hard classes, even though at the time I really wanted to stop. So that's gonna be it for the video. I hope you liked it and hope you learned something from it. Drop a like if you did and hit subscribe for more videos. And I'm gonna be going over more productivity tips and everything so that hopefully you can learn how to be more productive and take notes and things like that for your classes so that we can build up a more diverse background in STEM education. Thanks for watching.